Namaste. Welcome to Rishikesh, known globally as the world capital of yoga. But this is not a new phenomenon. Since ancient times, yogis have been coming here to the banks of the Ganga to be able to experience something very sacred. The name Rishikesh comes from Hrishikesh, Lord of the senses, and it's a name given to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, as he appeared here to Raibhya Rishi in ancient times. The Skanda Purana gives us so many stories of Rishikesh itself. There is another name, there's another way of understanding Rishikesh. Kesh, the hair of a rishi, as the great sages wash the hair. But generally we accept Rishikesh as Lord of the senses. In the Ramayana, Rishikesh finds a lot of mention. It's very beautiful that once Lord Rama defeated Ravana, he came here to do penance. And so we find that this is Ramjula, but further down is the ancient bridge called Lakshman Jula. Lakshmana is supposed to have crossed the river, his brother, on two jute ropes, and that became Lakshman Jula. In fact, there are few old temples here, including Bharat Mandir, where Rama's brother Bharata is supposed to have done his penance. Now these temples were actually founded by Adi Shankaracharya. So we've got the ancient tales of Rishikesh, but then it finds great mention in the medieval times because of the work of Adi Shankaracharya. For those of us who know a little bit about Adi Shankaracharya, he's the great reformist and brought Advaita Vedanta as the fundamental idea of Hinduism. If not for his work, Hinduism was slowly getting splintered into different sections. The interesting thing with Adi Shankaracharya, he lived only to the age of 32, but he came walking all the way from Kerala to do pilgrimages all over India, and he set up the Char Dham. There's a Chota Char Dham based out of the Garhwal Himalayas or Rishikesh, and around Rishikesh, what we used to call traditionally as Kedar Khand. Kedar is the local name for Lord Shiva. Now in these four dhams, you've got Kedarnath, Badrinath, Gangotri. Gangotri is where the Ganga starts, the glacier. Yamunotri, where the Yamuna starts. Badrinath is a temple to Lord Vishnu, and Kedarnath. It's fascinating because according to the myth, when the Pandavas in the Mahabharata had won the war of Kurukshetra, they came to get their blessings or to absolve their sins. They wanted to pray to Lord Shiva because they had killed their brothers, cousins in the war. They had killed a lot of the Brahmin gurus. So they needed that sort of absorbed. Lord Shiva was not pleased with what happened at Kurukshetra, and therefore he hid himself as a bull. The fascinating story of how they chased the bull, Bhim caught the bull, and then the bull appeared, the hump of the bull appeared at Kedarnath, the face at Rudranath, the hands at Tungnath, which is the highest Shiva temple in the world, and you've got the hair Kalpeshwar and the navel Madhya Madhyeshwar. Now these are small legends all along about how this whole place is called Deva Bhumi, or the land of the gods. What we are interested also is how it comes to its modern status as the yoga capital. And for that, the journey begins with Swami Shivananda. If you look there, you will find Shivananda Nagar. So Swami Shivananda was actually, he was from the south of India, from Tamil Nadu, Kuppaswamy, and he came all the way. He in fact worked as a doctor in Malaysia, but he found that, as many doctors do, that the healing, the allopathy healing was peripheral. There was nothing deeper. So in 1924, he met his guru and started to study meditation and spirituality, eventually becoming a Swami. He continued to train and teach people, and throughout his life, he set up the Divine Life Society and the Shivananda Ashram. Now these ashrams are across the world, and he had so many famous students. Of them, Swami Vishnu Devananda set up Shivananda Yoga, which is known across the world. He's the most famous yogi of Rishikesh of the first half of the 20th century. But the second half of the 20th century saw a very different kind of a guru, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and his famous transcendental meditation. Further down here is the Chaurasi Kuti Ashram, where the Beatles in 1968 came and lived here for about 3 weeks, writing a lot of the songs that are found on the White Album, the Beatles album. His transcendental meditation is the most studied under lab research experiments meditation techniques. So many of the modern gurus practiced the transcendental meditation. So he became a leading light across the world for yoga itself. Over the last 20 years, so many yogis have come here, and eventually what we find is that this is hub further up. Lakshman Jula is central to teacher training courses and yogis training from across the world. Wherever in the world you practice yoga, whether you're in New York or San Francisco, London or Melbourne or Dubai, at some point please make a trip to Rishikesh, because you'll get a deeper understanding of what yoga is. It's not just an exercise. And when you go down to the south of India, alignment becomes important with Iyengar yoga. Exercises and asanas become important with Ashtanga yoga. But you get a deep insight into the whole art of yoga, the Swamis, the Rishis, Karma yoga, Jnana, Bhakti yoga, here in Rishikesh. Your idea of what is yoga will further expand when you come into Rishikesh. People young and old come all the way from across India, across the world to Rishikesh. Do come here if you really want to explore what yoga is. And also there are many things to do, like rafting down the Ganga, trekking and so on. Thank you friends, and I wish to see you here in Rishikesh sometime. Namaste.